we're back! And more average than ever. Sam, you alright?
Yeah. I'm just graded
Just
news.
existing.
Just justing. Yeah, just
Justin. There you go. Let's take a look at the headlines. NXT reportedly introducing brand new championships. Vince McMahon wants to blow up WrestleMania plans, and WWE have set a new rule for developmental signees. Find out more soon. Let's talk about belts, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things.
Belt things.
NXT. What is it? NXT reportedly introducing new championships. Tell us everything, Sam.
So, as we know, NXT has the NXT Championship, the NXT Women's Championship, the North American Championship, and the NXT Tag Team Championships.
Cruiserweight, please.
Oh, the Cruiserweight title as well, actually, yes.
It's branded NXT now.
My brain is still linking it to 205 Live. But, yeah, it makes sense with the fact that NXT's women's division has been growing at an exponential rate and really coming into its own in terms of, just how it's represented and how much time it's getting on shows over the past couple of years, that there would be a secondary women's title thrown into the mix. And apparently, we're getting just that, but it's not just a singles secondary title. It's going to be NXT Women's Tag Team titles.
Woohoo! I like the idea, but I don't know. They don't use the main roster tag titles effectively. They've been a mess pretty much since they debuted those titles. I think the Iconics did some decent work with it. Sasha and Bayley did alright, but again, it was there to further a singles feud eventually. Yeah. And it worries me that they would do that in NXT, but perhaps they wouldn't because creative tends to be a little bit better down there.
It's apparently all linked to William Regal's landscape-changing announcement that's been teased. But part of me is like, are they going to have the main roster tag titles and the NXT tag titles and keep them very separate? Or are we going to see the main roster women's tag titles disappear and NXT is the only brand with women's tag titles? And I don't think that could really happen. No,
I don't think so. Yeah. I think they would have just put the titles on a team in NXT.
And then it would have slowly been morphed and changed the logo. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It'll be interesting to see. Speaking of NXT, by the way, the new NXT TakeOver name has seemingly been revealed. WWE filing a trademark for NXT TakeOver. Stand and deliver money on your life. That wasn't glitter. No, that was Adam Ant. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. That's all right. I can sing that without getting cancelled. NXT TakeOver, Stand and Deliver. The NXT TakeOver next month doesn't have a name yet, but you would expect that to be it. What do you think? Stand and Deliver?
I mean, are we going to see some people with blunderbusses stood on the entrance ramp halfway down and every single time?
What's a blunderbuster?
Like a blunderbuss, like a big old gun. From back in the day. The big horn
thing. Yeah. Oh, I like
and just
those.
Stood there in a little mask, a little rapier just on their side, little sword, just getting ready to rob them of all of their earnings. Cameron Grimes comes out and they absolutely fleece him for all his money and then they run off and you never see them again.
That's such a good idea. Was that off the top of your head?
Totally.
He's a genius. Speaking of geniuses, I'm going to do that every time, these segues. Vince McMahon. He is a genius, and he plans to blow up WrestleMania plans. So this comes from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and the quote is, and take from this what you will, Vince McMahon decided this week that the show needs to be bigger, and he needs to blow up the original ideas, and how else we can use everyone. So there are people expecting changes this coming week from the original lineup and direction. So it appears that nothing is set in stone. Fastlane might turn out to be a very important pay-per-view after all, if plans are to be blown up. What does that mean? I'm trying to figure this out.
It's quite hard because it could mean, we're going to really up the scale. We're going to make the ring 45 feet. We're going to do all of this. The entrance ramp's going to be a half-mile long. Like, it could mean that in terms of the actual scale and how the event's presented and how it looks and the aesthetics, or it could just be, as you said, we're going to go crazy
Bring
and
back
we're going
Goldberg
to
again.
just throw everything in. It could mean anything really, but what I'm sort of taking from it is that maybe it's got to do with the fact that we haven't really had any spectacle over the last year, have we?
No.
We've not had anything. I mean, the Thunderdome in itself's a spectacle, but it's not like, attending an event and having that big WrestleMania feel. And I think maybe it's got to do more with the whole, moments, and anything can happen, and those are big things that Vince loves. So it's quite concerning that we could just have a random Goldberg thrown into the mix or something, but I'd imagine that it's going to be more about just trying to use
Maybe
what they've
match
got.
types.
Yeah.
Maybe some stuff that we've not seen before there, just stuff that
that'd be quite cool.
Rarely see. Yeah, we'll see, but hey, plans always subject to change, and no more so than in WWE with Vince McMahon, and now he wants to blow things up.
Imagine
WWE.
that's what he meant. He's just going to set pyro off everywhere, every single
Well, they
move.
did. Do you remember that WrestleMania where all those fans got burned by the pyro?
What?
I want to say it was 26. Correct me in the comments. I'm probably wrong with
I
26.
didn't know that.
It must have been later than that. All this pyro went off in the stands. People were injured. It was horrible.
I was just
don't make that joke again, you horrible bastard.
I was thinking more like, those big fireworks on the top, every single punch, every single strike, every single submission.
Yes, please.
The entire length of a submission, it's just going...
I love it.
Yeah.
Billions spent. Just like the Miz's entrance.
Everybody gets a fiver and a sandwich. That's it. That's your payday.
Sticking with WWE, and they have set a strict rule for all developmental signees. And this is one that is, already stirring up a bit of controversy online. They are limiting the age at which you can sign with WWE as a developmental prospect. What is that age, Sam?
That age is 30 years old. I've got...
We're out. Oh, no, you're not, are you?
I've got, what is it, March? I've got 2 and a bit months. So come get me, Paul. I'm ready.
Quick.
Come on.
Get on the blower.
I'm easy to find. But
Is that your input?
Just give me a job. Give me a job, Paul.
The quote is, and you know what? I agree with parts of this. The WWE is very aware of the aging aspect of the roster and developmental. We were told there's been a new doctrine when it comes to new signings that unless it's from a special situation where somebody is really good or has potential, or if they have a name from elsewhere, they want to limit new developmental signings to those under the age of 30. So it is an interesting one because, you look at some of the people who started wrestling later in life. DDP is the one that everybody always brings up. I think Dave Bautista was pretty old when he started. I think he was over 30, if memory serves. But I guess they will make exceptions.
I mean, they've already made exceptions if this has been implemented as a rule, because we've seen Taya Valkyrie get signed. We saw Eli Drake get signed, and I think
they got the names from elsewhere, haven't they?
They've said, I guess they've said that essentially, if you are, exceptional and you have that star quality, then there'll be an exception made for you. But it does make sense.
So the door is still open for me.
Yeah, if you've just got to be really good.
I've got the name value. I'm working a feud with Soulja Boy at the moment. I'm trying to.
We could bring that to NXT, no bother. But I think if you look at it logically as well, if you're going to pay for say like an older, more established wrestler to come in from another promotion, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to do that. Whereas if you invest that same amount of money in maybe 5 or 6 younger talents, and you let that build over time and hopefully, keep them within the realms of the company, you can turn them into stars, and it becomes a much more worthwhile investment overall for everybody involved. But
I agree. And I think WWE have been signing a lot of talent who have been wrestling for quite a while, and they come into WWE and they're a little bit older, and I think it's really important to invest in younger talent. So I think as long as exceptions can be made for people with name value, for people who show a ton of potential who maybe got into it late, then it's fair enough, because they should be investing in a younger generation and people that can carry the company for long periods of time.
God knows AEW are, so they're knocking at the door.
Looking forward to seeing Kurt on Sunday. I'm kidding. I actually am. I really am. If it is him. And finally, some developments coming out of last night's SmackDown. We've got a new match set for Fastlane. Sam, what is it? We
do. So Daniel Bryan was to face Jey Uso in the main event of SmackDown, but originally the plan for cage match. But the plan for Fastlane was originally going to be Edge and Bryan versus Roman and Jey. Bryan came out at the top of the show and was like, "Look, I didn't actually get briefed on this. Everybody just assumed, oh, you'll be fine with it. It's Daniel Bryan. And he's like, not anymore. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to stand up for what I want. And I'm not just going to let people push me around. So it was presented to him, look, if you beat Jay, you get to face Roman at Fastlane. So they had a hell of a cage match, and that's now set up. But Roman is, of course, not happy. If Bryan beats Roman at Fastlane, then, of course, we're going to see Bryan versus Edge at Mania instead of Edge versus Roman. But I don't think that's going to happen. At best, I think for Bryan, we may see it being expanded into a three-way. But I don't... Again, I don't know if that's...
I think the money's there in the Roman Edge match.
Yeah, but that's it. You don't really need to throw the extra element into it.
No, you'll make him a Charlotte Flair, won't you?
Yeah.
You do that. And so, it looks like it was a pretty good SmackDown. Where can they hear more about SmackDown?
They can hear more about SmackDown on Graded, which went out just a little bit ago. And I run down the entire show, rating every segment, from A+ to F and that. I'm not going to do my full intro.
I didn't know. Also, Big E's coming back next week. He's been off TV for a couple of weeks.
Big E's back next week, and Cruz demanded an IC title match, and Reggie was fired. Reggie was fired by Carmella because you're too busy running around, gallivanting, trying to impress Sasha Banks and that, and she's having none of it.
See you later. All the best.